Hey everyone, we are headed out right now as a family to go get Cecilia Rose's ears pierced as a birthday present because she's turning 4 years old tomorrow. Are you excited, Cece? Awesome. A little bit terrified, also very excited.
She's not scared at all. Not
scared at all? Are you scared, Cece? All right, that's my girl. Give me five.
She says, I'm really brave.
Yeah, that's right. It's my girl. Anyways, on today's episode of Conversations with Nick and Alina are Tony and Tricia Vasinda. They are the couple that was behind the creation and shipment of Catholic beard balm to all 7 continents of the planet for the last, I think, something like 15 years. And they've also done so much for the youth ministry community. You are going to hear a really fun, but also, I think, spiritually edifying conversation about a lot of topics. And
cover a lot of ground.
We covered a ton of ground with this one. We talked about youth ministry. We talked about beards. And we talked, Alina loves beards, especially on me, right, babe?
Oh, so much.
We talked about, what else did we talk about?
Tattoos.
We talked about tattoos.
Yeah.
That was a great conversation. Yeah, what it looks like to be a Christian and how that relates to the question of tattoos. Anyways, there's a lot in store. Oh, we also, this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. We talked about the importance
of being earnest.
Well, did we talk about that? No. I don't even know what earnest means, to be honest with you. Anyways, we talked about the importance of sterilizing and disinfecting the contents of a ball pit, each individual one of them, between uses for youth ministry. So, here it is. Check it out.
Welcome to The Conversation.
Join us as we pontificate about God, love, music, family, faith, and life.
Here, no topic or question is off limits.
To submit a question for future episodes or just have an idea for us, email us at conversations@nickandalina.com.
And now, Conversations with Nick and Alina.
Hey everyone, welcome to Conversations with Nick and Alina.
Howdy.
We have 2 very special guests with us today, Tony and Tricia Vasinda. And they are the power couple. They are the power Catholic couple. You know, when people have the audacity to say to us, Nick and Alina, you guys are a power couple, I say, well, you don't know the Vasindas clearly, because they are the definitive power couple in the Catholic world. We're going to get into some of that in just a moment. Before we get into the content for today's show, I want to thank some of our new patrons. We've had a really exciting new influx since our last episode of new patrons to our patron community. So I want to thank wholeheartedly Rich and Connie Cronin, Ed and Loretta Maher, Pat and Patty McNamara, Tegan McNamara, Father Michael Dandurand, Evan and Kerrigan Gardner, Dave and Deb Gruen, Andrew and Brittany Reinhart, Nick and Megan Reitenauer, Logan McNamara, Patrick Rawl, and Kevin Kelly.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, thank you so much for being a part of our patron community. 4 months ago, when Alina and I took the plunge to go full-time in this ministry, doing podcasts and making music, making the daily word, we had no idea the incredible support that we would encounter from all of you. So thank you so much. You're literally what makes it all possible. And in that short 4 months, how close we've come to hitting the goals that we need to really be sustainable long-term is amazing. So if you want to help us reach those goals, and if you want to support the work that we're doing, the content that we're creating to evangelize the church in the online world and at events, then feel free to go to nickandalina.com/patron to check out the different patron levels, and you can even join for the price of a cup of coffee a week. So
we should introduce our other guest.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. I'll let you guys introduce the other guest.
Out of camera shot is our dog Zosimus.
He's the cutest.
There are 7 kids in the house right now.
Yeah.
So
did you hear anything?
No, all 7 are not yours. 3 of them are ours.
Yeah, 4 of them are ours.
Yes, and we got them set up playing Nintendo in the living room. Who knows what
Everybody's
madness our kids are getting into, so...
Sounds about right.
Yeah. All right, so Tony and Tricia, you guys have done some really cool stuff, and as I understand it from the story that I've gathered, you did not set out to kind of be in the position that you're in our kind of American Catholic community.
Maybe Tony did.
My secret plan the whole time.
Yeah. So as I understand it, Tony, you were a director of evangelization at a parish, or maybe were you a youth minister at the time?
Started out almost 20 years ago now, 18 years ago, as a youth minister at a parish, and then started doing consulting work for other parishes, and that grew into a ministry effort. And it was right around the time that Tricia and I got married that I went to work full-time for parishes. And that grew and changed and morphed over the course of a decade into something called Project YM, which helps youth ministers know that they're cared for, that they matter, and that they're loved. And we do a lot of that online through online support, online conversation groups, online conferences, as well as on-site coaching events, coming out and working with their leadership teams, helping them. We will come out and do events for youth, but it's always with a lens towards how do we actually help build your team? How do we build you up as a youth minister? How do we make things better? So we don't want to come in and run somebody's confirmation retreat over and over again. We want to teach them how to run a confirmation retreat.
That's awesome.
Better in a way that feeds ultimately how the gospel is taking root in the next generation. And I've had a couple of different partners in that, but Michael Marchand is the primary one. He's the other co-founder who's still active in the ministry. And he actually now just took over running most of the day-to-day on that.
Really?
And so it's really great. I mean, Michael's been a full-time employee for a long time.
That's awesome.
But I'm able to step back into really just a support role for him at this point and really kind of let him take the reins and do a ton of online stuff. But we just finished up an event in the Diocese of Lansing for 40-something youth ministers, and some of their spouses came, and just around personal transformation, healing, receiving the gospel, and then sharing the faith, which sounds pretty basic, and it is, but it's things a lot of times Catholics don't know how to do, or have never received, or have never been told is important, or if they have, it's never been within the context of their ministry life. And we just see youth ministers out there that are hurting and bruised and battered by their time in the church. And so we just want to come alongside them and maximize the amount of impact they can have in their ministry.
That's awesome. So let's go back to the beginning of that endeavor of Project Youth Ministry, or Project YM. So what was the initial impetus for that? Like what need did you see initially that you were like, we can work towards filling that need by doing Project YM?
It grew really organically. The initial kind of kernel thing was I was seeing a lot of success in the parish work I was doing. I did an internship, and we saw some tremendous growth while I was there through some of the processes I implemented. And then when I took over at a parish, it was a parish of 750 families, and we went from having no youth ministry or youth ministry where like 6 kids were showing up with one set of volunteer like parents running it, to within 3 years we had about 250 young people who were active in the ministry, which for a parish that size, even in Texas, is a huge explosion. A really prominent leadership team, and so people just started asking me, hey, can you come and help tell me how to do this? And I was 21 years old and should have probably just been like, no. And so the impetus initially may have been a little bit of vanity, but some of it was just seeing fruitfulness and wanting to help other people do good ministry. There's a lot of parts of the country, and this may sound shocking today, but especially then, and I think it's still true, where I don't think you have to be the world's best youth minister to do really good and be really fruitful, because the culture is a little bit more friendly towards the faith. Texas is certainly part of that area where there's still a lot of families who are very entrenched in cultural Catholicism. Kids are going to come. It's not a countercultural thing to do it. And so, there was some of that was just straight up luck as far as the ability we had to kind of scale a ministry that quickly. But I went after that and helped another parish do the same thing, started coaching other youth ministers, introducing some of those same techniques. And then eventually we started doing things online because we realized there was a better way to reach Catholic youth ministers. And this is before everybody was doing stuff online, like Facebook wasn't a thing at this point in time. But we started doing just this online streamed conference, and Michael was one of our first presenters.
Oh, wow.
And speakers. And it wasn't called Project YM at that point in time. It was just called Rebuild Conferences, right, about helping to rebuild youth ministry and rebuild the church. And he got involved because our website was ugly, and he was like, if I'm going to do a talk on this thing, I want the website to look good. Now, it looked better.
Websites
it looked better than 95% of the other websites in the Catholic Church.
But that's not even hard.
Better than 99% of the websites in other Catholic Church at that point in time. But he did a huge rebrand on it and became part of the team.
Well, and it's beautiful now. I saw it recently again, and it's pretty awesome.
He does all of the web design. Like Michael does amazing things. And then eventually that evolved into a concept of saying, hey, a lot of youth ministers have a lot of wisdom they want to share. What if we created a platform for that? And it seemed like a really good idea, something like teachers pay teachers, where youth ministers could basically earn additional income, which they all need, and share their wisdom.
Wow.
The problem is a lot of youth ministers don't write stuff down. And so when we like opened up the floodgates, like to say, come and submit your best ideas, your resources, everything else, it was a trickle. And most of those things were like, I modified this youth night from another publisher pretty heavily. Can you use that? And we're like, no, we can't. And so, it's grown over time. It's been a 16-year journey. Project YM has been around for 7 years. But before that, it was 10 years of all the other stuff we were doing that kind of eventually became Project YM.
That's so cool.
That's great.
Happening. So, but yeah, a lot of it was just seeing there's a lot of gifts out there in the youth ministry community. There's a lot of woundedness. There's a lot of need. How do gifts and needs start to meet each other?
Yeah.
And realizing that our hope that everybody would just be able to kind of crowdsource that and work together was not, we weren't there yet as a culture in the youth ministry community in the Catholic Church. And so that grew into a lot of how do we help lead people further by just producing better dynamic resources that help uplift their ministry and cast a vision for that. And so now we have, freelancers, contributors, bloggers, other people all over the U.S. and other parts of the world. But most of it's based out of Chattanooga. So we've got Michael and his wife and one other employee, Callista, who work full-time doing our primary resource, which is Thrive, and it's a membership community for Catholic youth ministers. Because number one thing we hear is like, we're lonely, we're alone, we're isolated, nobody understands what we're doing, and we just want to create a space, an online spaces where people can have that kind of community.
Did you experience that as a youth minister?
100%. When I became a youth minister, I actually had a similar professional trajectory to you, but until recently I guess you also are going full-time now in the things that you're doing. So
we are.
Very congruent paths here. But when I became a youth minister, it was like you get thrown into the deep water.
You literally just converted back to the faith and then you became
about a year before I'd come back to the faith in the first place, maybe a year and a half. And like, there's no instruction. Like the pastor, who is a dear friend of ours, and I love him dearly, but like he didn't really know what to offer in terms of instruction either. He had expectations, as any supervisor should, but like youth ministry is such a nebulous, weird thing because teenagers are weird things. Right. And so, and between the constantly changing societal elements there, attributes of the youth themselves, I mean, high schoolers today are nothing like high schoolers were 2 years ago. I mean, it is such a consistently evolving demographic. And so, not only did I not have a clue how to kind of land on my feet, so I didn't, but I also didn't.
You did a good job. I think you did a good job.
Well, thank you. I mean,
that's what you had.
Yeah, I mean, the Lord provided a lot. Like we doubled the size of the number of kids that were coming in about a year's time, which was really, really cool. But like, it's all God, because I had no idea what the crap I was doing, 100%. And I also didn't have much community surrounding that. Like out of that need, naturally, organically, there were youth ministers in the area that started getting together once a month. But there was always also like this weird climate of like people not trying to let on that they didn't know what they were doing. And like, so even that was not that helpful. So I just I look back at that time and I think to myself, gosh, if something like Project YM, which obviously was around at that time, but like I didn't know, right. Like if I had a resource like that or a channel for, meeting people and community and growth where there wasn't like this weird dynamic of like, I'm supposed to pretend I know what I'm doing. Like I can totally see how that would be incredibly valuable.
Yeah. And it's a hard sell though, because like you've also got to go to the pastor and say like, hey, you're not doing a good job pastoring me. You're not doing a good job being my boss. So I need a community of people to step in and do that, which is not the pitch. Like don't pitch, Project YM or Thrive that way. But it is sometimes that's kind of the thing. Like, well, you should just have those things. Like we hired you because we thought you knew those things, or can't you just figure it out? Which, also takes a huge role on spouses. Like my wife forever, would just hear me come home and talk about like even if things are going well, at the office, they told me like, hey, if you have extra time, you could be doing these other things. And I was just like, what extra time? What extra time do I have that you think I'm not doing? They're like, well, you were only here for 6 hours today and you weren't here yesterday. And it's like, I mean, I was also working all day Sunday.
Right.
And evenings. There's a lot of evenings.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that one of the biggest groundbreaking things for me was I did finally eventually go to a youth ministers training conference that Life Teen hosted, and so I heard something that fundamentally changed the way that I did ministry in general. Like then as a youth minister and then later as a director of evangelization and parish life at another parish, the idea that like I am not the youth minister, I am the director or coordinator of youth ministry, right? And that you're cultivating a community of core team members who are the youth ministers. Right. And you know, like that, what made me think of that is you talking about the time, like having time, like you're only one person when you're a youth minister. Some parishes have the luxury of having 2 to 3 youth ministers. Don't anticipate that you're going to be in a situation like that. That's super rare. But if you can instead develop a core group of people that become extensions of your work, that they are the ones. So we literally developed a calendar of the different high schools, sporting programs and stuff. And we had like different core team members that were designated to go to this or that event, so that there was always a representation of the youth ministry from this parish. Oh, cool. And they had a way to like develop, but you can't, as if you're a youth minister and you're trying to do all of that stuff and you're lonely as it is in that ministry, like you're not going to be able to have the reach that you could have otherwise.
And not only that, but having older children ourselves and knowing what it was like with them when they were younger, your kids start to miss out on that. You know? Like if you're doing all these things for those kids, then it's your kids who are suffering, which is a hard thing to do, especially in ministry, because people expect you to be always ministering. And and
it's really one of those fun like tensions, and it's better to lean in this now as we're shifting our lives to focus more on our family, right? Even in the middle of ministry. Like there is a real tension in scripture and even in the church. Like we lift the family up really high. We also, like Christ and the church both place the kingdom higher as a higher good than the family, which it is. But then it is also like, but how does like that fit in together, especially as we're looking at the domestic church as the importance of the family structure, all these things. And, you know, I actually am a firm believer in celibacy of the priesthood, like without a doubt. Like I think it's hard enough to be a lay minister who's married. Like imagine being clergy who is married. Like it is crazy to me to think about that. But there is a distinct lack of the voice of what it's like to be that married person with kids in ministry, and the vast majority of those conversations and decisions that are getting made. And so, and I think the bishops are well aware of that, and there's a continual effort to do that. But until there's kind of a centralized voice for that in a way that's continually represented in an ongoing way, it's always going to be a struggle. And so it's one of the real challenges right now.
So one day you found yourself trying to raise funds to go to a conference with your youth group. Is that accurate?
No, so we were going to, it was Project YM, and we were going to a conference for youth ministers. So it was the National Catholic Conference on Youth Ministry, put on by the National Federation for Catholic Youth Ministry, or as it would annoyingly be called, NCCYM by NFCYM.
Oh my gosh, that's the worst ever.
So who also puts on NCYC on alternate years, which is the National Catholic Youth Conference, and down in San Antonio. And we had been brought in to do some work, so we were doing some quick edit pieces to put up on the main stage at the conference. And so like we wanted a fun way to do that. So we built a ball pit inside of our booth. People jump in the ball pit. This is all youth ministers. And so, and people would like, people don't believe us about this, but numerous times a day, we would like clean everybody out of it. And we would like disinfect, like spray all the balls in the ball pit.
Oh my gosh, you are making my heart flutter right now.
Because we're like, we don't need anybody to get sick while we're here. And so like, couple times a day, like lunchtime, and then at the end of the day we would do that, and in the morning when we came in we'd do it again, just in case people got in the ball.
I'm so excited that kind of stuff is happening.
And youth ministry, it's important. Disinfecting ball pits is one of the most important things we can do. But at that point in time, we had a small graphic design company for churches that we were running called Parish Designer, that didn't end up being a great project. Yeah, it's kind of on mothballs permanently. And so we could get free graphic design. And I was making beard balms for me to use, but also like for some of my friends to use. And at my parish, I was just being a director of faith formation at a new parish at that point in time. And so I was doing a couple series on the sacraments. And I always like people to be able to engage in kind of a sensory manner in the sacraments. So like walking people through the rite is the most primary way that I'll instruct on the rite. And so I got some unconsecrated chrism oil, and I needed enough to make like an ounce. and the minimum amount you can get is enough to make 3 gallons. And so
That's a lot of Christmas.
yeah, and so I was like, what am I going to do with all this leftover? It was like, hey, it'd be funny if we made some Chrism scented, another scented beard balm, and took it to the conference, and we just sold it as a way to make it. Lots of youth ministers have some level of beard, and so we did. And my business partners, every time I would bring it up at our meetings ahead of time, they were like, don't do it. Like, don't do it. They would roll their eyes and be like, you can go walk around and try to sell it to people if you want to.
Oh my goodness.
We're not putting it in the booth. And then like, I was like, look, finally I was like, we sell t-shirts. Like t-shirts aren't what we do, but we sell t-shirts to offset costs. We're just going to sell this to offset our costs. It's either going to be fun and work or it's not. And so we did, and they were both like floored when 4 hours into the conference it was like 3 days long. We had sold out of all the different aromas and had like a waiting list of like 25 people. And so
I might have been one of those 25.
Yeah, I think you were.
I remember being on a waiting list. That might have been the moment.
So we did that. We came back and we just put it on the website, and it sat for like 6 months. And at one point, Mike was trying to go full time, and I was look, if we can sell 300 tins of beard balm a month, like you can go full time. I don't care. Like, and so he put together a sales funnel over the next month, and like we popped it out for Father's Day.
Yeah.
And we were selling like maybe $50 a week worth of beard balm. Like just a couple people would hop on and order it, and then we sold like $3,500 in a weekend, right?
Wow.
Like, before Father's Day. We didn't know, like, Tricia was hand addressing everything.
I was literally hand writing addresses.
Yeah.
Don't you love being the wife
Well, I
of
think
an
I even
entrepreneur?
remember one of the orders that I placed early on, getting a message that was something to the effect of, hey, we were expecting that this many people would want some, so we're a little behind. We hand make all of this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, that was probably that weekend.
Yeah.
$3,500.
It could have been that weekend or like the next November. We also started lip balm, and Christmas was insane that year. Like every year, no, it was that November. Like every year for the first couple of years, it was like Christmas was a completely new type of nightmare. It was like, hey, we just got the ability to print postage. Like great, or hey, we're putting out lip balm, which takes forever to roll and like do and all the other things.
Yeah,
and
the labeling and
like
stuff.
Everything was just like, and then like every time there was one of these new things, I'd be out of town. So like,
Oh no.
through everything, and I'd be at an event, and they'd be like, yeah, we don't know what to do. So like,
I feel your pain. In so many ways.
Oh my gosh.
The following November was a nightmare. The November after that was better, but a different type of nightmare.
We should also clarify, we are not complaining. This is amazing. It is good problems to have.
It's good problems to have, like, just from a ministry support standpoint,
It's just
from a house management standpoint.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it took over the house. We had tried to homeschool. We homeschooled about a month, maybe, but we had a
Hey, that was a solid
room.
month.
It was good. We had a homeschool room, so it kind of took over that room, and that became the balm room. But
room.
We all packages and boxes everywhere. We didn't have any clue how to store any of these things or any of that. There was definite growing pains. There still are growing pains.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That reminds me of the story of him being out of town and you having to deal with this stuff. It reminds me, this is not a story that we've actually shared with anybody other than our close family. So when we launched April of 2018, when we released our Vision CD, we were getting down to the wire of the window of time that we could turn it into the manufacturer for them to actually print this stuff. But there was this one track on the CD that for whatever reason, every time we exported it, it was glitching, and like it had these weird sound artifacts in the song. And so I was still working my 9 to 5 at the diocese at the time, and I'm like freaking out because we literally
had pulled 2 all-nighters in a row.
Yeah, and we were literally hitting the deadline of when they absolutely needed it for us to hit the release window for our release party. And so over the phone, Alina's sitting in the studio, and over the phone, and you were dealing with a newborn, I think.
Yep.
Over the phone, I tried to troubleshoot with her manning the controls, figuring out where that glitch was coming from to fix it, and submit the final masters to.
I submitted the final.
But she did it, and we hit the deadline, and Alina was a hero.
Yay.
Isn't it great that you also never get angry or frustrated with each other at those moments? And you never yell at your spouse who's out of town and make them feel
Rockstar
horrible. And so.
Oh man,
that's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, there's been moments that I pull the plug, we're done, turn it all off.
Yep.
I'm so glad to hear you say that.
We had one of those last night.
Last night, I was like, this is stupid.
Who are these people coming to our house?
It wasn't that. It was the daily word.
No, it wasn't that. It was the daily word.
Daily word. I love the daily word.
We have the talk about how Tony likes to, he kind of monetizes everything. So it's never just for
like
fun.
at one point, Tricia was like, I wish we could just be friends. Like, I feel like everything we do revolves around business. And I was like, hey, have you noticed that I monetize every relationship and hobby that I have? Like, I don't have a hobby or a relationship that I'm not like, what content could we be working on together?
That is so
my
funny.
Gosh, it's Nick.
That's like me and Edmund Mitchell. Like we're constantly calling each other like, hey,
Edmund
what if we do this thing?
Let's call Edmund right now.
No, it's very true. So yeah, it becomes a thing. But when it goes from being just for fun to
Now there's stakes.
serious.
yeah, now then there's
And I love to have fun, but to me it's like, why just have fun when we could also
He recorded our zoo trip. I was taking the kids to the zoo and he recorded
This could pay for our fun, right?
Exactly.
Like, this could be part of how our fun doesn't cost us any money. I mean, so originally, and it hasn't been consistent, and so which is probably good and it was a decision I made like halfway through. I was trying to catch like audio for my show all the way across the country. And I caught one piece early on, and it wasn't hard and it wasn't challenging. It was fine. It was a really cool conversation with this atheist dude in Portland.
It was really
who
a
was
good
like super excited to
conversation.
meet us.
Wow.
But I was trying to schedule like numerous of those across the country, and then like we got to Denver, and I was just like, or I could just be with my family, like, or I could just like hang out with my family. And,
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's also, my kids are teenagers, so you've got like 10 years to figure out
right.
Oh,
how
boy.
not to do that.
Well, and what's awesome is like Alina calls me on it, like even last night, because we were dealing with this stupid glitch in the technology for producing the Daily Word, which is why she was frustrated. But it just got to a point where she was like, okay, Nick, you're going to spend an hour not working and you're just going to come upstairs and hang out with us. And I was like, well, duh. Yeah, of course I'm going to do that.
We had a bonfire, and then afterwards he tells me I really wanted to record everything that was happening.
Because it was amazing. Yeah.
And I'm
Like
no.
you were telling ghost
No.
stories, the kids were telling ghost stories, and
No.
the hard thing is that we also started this vlog called the Catholic Musicians Vlog, where we're documenting what it's like to be us as a family.
Right.
For a couple of reasons. One, like kind of going back to like what I shared about as a youth minister, the challenge I ran into not having a clue how to do it. As a Catholic musician, it's like, what do I do with this? Like, how do I execute on this vision or dream of becoming a Catholic musician? And so wanting to show people what it looks like for us, number one, to help them. Number two, to show what it looks like to be a Catholic family and how, you know, it is beautiful. It's not always easy and wanting to put that on display. And so, there was a beautiful moment as a family that I was just like, oh, we should have caught this for the vlog.
We talked about that, like, as we're making the shift that we're making, which is like our family kind of entering into a new ministry together, which is a fun conversation to have with like your teenage kids, because you want to be like, hey, it's not going to be super weird, but it's going to be weird.
Wait, so is this different than Catholic Beard Balm and Project
Yeah,
YM?
so one of the reasons I stepped back from like any sort of day-to-day on Project YM and just doing events and supporting Michael and Crystal and the team in whatever way they need me to, was to free up time. So like a year and a half ago, a year and a half ago, not more than that, like 3 years ago, my friend Sarah Kismerick, who is like a huge spiritual influence for me, she just was like, what if you didn't have to worry about money? Like what job would you want to do? And I had never said this before, but I was just like, I would just want to be like an evangelist in residence. And she was like, what's that? And I had never said that before. I never thought that before, but I was like, when Sarah asks you questions, sometimes like God says, here's how you should answer Sarah Kismerick's question. And so
she's an awesome woman.
Yeah. And so she, so I was like, I think like an artist in residence, like somebody like a musician in residence, like at a parish, where it's like, hey, like you may do a mass on some weekends, but if you're not in town, like it's whatever. Or an artist who might be working on a piece for a parish, or just working out of the parish and the parish is supporting them. I was like, imagine that, but you were doing evangelization, and that's what you were doing, and the parish cared enough about it to be like, here's a house to live in, or here's a small stipend, or here's how we're supporting you spiritually in that. And she said, do you know any parents that would do that? I said, absolutely not.
Right.
And
yeah.
so, but then about a year ago, we started talking because like somebody was like, you should move to Philly. My friend Santonio Hill. And I laughed in his face and like said, no way. Like if we were going to move somewhere, Philly would probably be high on our list because my wife would be willing to move to Philly. But like, you know, I love my parish. I love what I'm doing. Like that's not in the plans right now. And then like I called Tricia 2 hours later after a couple like revelatory moments with God and some other people from Philly. And it was just like, what if we moved to Philly? And so we started praying about it. And within a little while, it was like, went from like, if we moved to Philly to when we moved to Philly, which for me was like a year or two. And for her was like 3 to 5.
Like 5 years.
Plan. Like, we love where we're at. Let's stay there. Like, at least through the kids, till the kids are done with high school. Because who would move their kids in the middle of high school? You'd have to be a horrible parent to do that. And then it just started evolving. And then like in January, there are a couple of circumstances that came up. Some family medical issues, not ours, but my sister-in-law. And just through discernment, like, was at a place in my parish where I'd had enough consolation and revelation that was like, go to Philly, and enough desolation around staying in the parish that I was like, somebody else can take the parish where it needs to go. Like, here's where God's calling our family. But it was also the conversation of like, is that where God's calling me? Like, is that just what I want to do? Or is that where God's calling the family? And that's usually... It's usually not the dialogue. Like, it's usually just like, God's calling me to do this. Let's go, family. Right. And so.
Unless you're Abraham.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He hadn't had any of the kids yet. You know.
That's fair. That's very fair. Who knows what he would have said if.
That's right. Yeah. If he had already had all those kids. Right. And so just kind of talking through with Tricia, and at least our older two a little bit more explicitly, and then our younger two a little bit less explicitly. Like here's where you want to kind of go do. And, it's hard because it's a little bit foremost, but it's basically that, like, go live as a household that exists for our neighborhood, and exists for the evangelization and the uplifting and the Christianization of our neighborhood, by going and living in a place, coming to understand and love the people who are there.
That's awesome.
So that you can invite them to know Christ through proclamation, through demonstration, that's both prayer but also service, and then using that as a way to equip the broader church to do the same. And so that's like table fellowships are like one of Tricia's amazing charisms, hospitality, which is not one of my charisms. Like, I'm very good at making people feel welcome verbally or engaging people. I'm not the kind of person who would actually remember like, hey, we need to have food. I'd just be like, oh, here's what's in the fridge, right? Like, so yeah, it's just kind of this like pairing of our gifts. She's way better at administration than I am. And so just trying to say, how do we create a household that's open to our community? And actually invites people into relationship with us, and through us into relationship with Jesus. And so
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really beautiful.
That's our new thing. Like, and we're outsourcing shipping. So like, there's a really awesome fulfillment center.
So I'm done.
Congratulations.
And customer service, which is actually the worst. Like, shipping, Tricia, actually like isn't the worst part. It's answering all the like, and again, so many of you, we love you. So many of you learned to write an email as if you understood you were a Catholic writing to a Catholic company, and that you should be like charitable and generous and not horrible.
Oh my gosh.
And so answering customer service in the middle of shipping, or doing shipping in the middle of answering customers, that was the hard part. The killer. Like, that is like.
I should clarify. I'm totally a customer service person. That is what I've always kind of done. But when it's your own personal things, it makes it way harder.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and when you're face to face, people treat you differently.
That is true.
I mean, there are literally horrible customers. I mean, we both worked in customer service and retail and in food service. People will come in and do horrible things and be horrible in person.
Yeah.
But it's so much of a lower number. Like, in person, they're way more inclined to either not say anything and just suck it up, or be like, oh, like, I think this was wrong. Could you remake it for me?
Right.
Like, hey, like, I don't know what happened, but when it's just an email you're shooting off, it's just like, you're the worst people in the world, and you are.
Oh my gosh.
Like, there's a lot of claims of immorality. Like, you're stealing from me, and da da da.
And these are like, Christians theoretically, because they want Catholic beard balm.
Yeah. I mean, it's
our
also
atheist customers never treat us that way.
It is also a testament to Michael's work on the website, and both Tony and Michael, like, with their ads and everything, people do not realize that it is just us.
Sure.
They think it's a big company.
It really does come across that way, absolutely.
Because it's not crappy.
So there were times where we'd get the very firm email because they thought they're having to deal with this corporation. And and no, it was when they realized, oh no, it's just the two of you. They're like, I'm very sorry. So people are wonderful.
Yeah, and like the vast majority of people like are just super sweet. Yeah. But so anyways, all those things are getting outsourced. Websites getting outsourced. Customer service, shipping.
The baby giggles in the background.
And then and so we're just creating, making, and helping guide the company. And then it's like an hour and a half outside of Philly, and it's run by these great Catholic guys who actually do a lot of the work, like the Focus store at the Focus conference. They run that entire thing, and so. we're really excited to be working and partnering with them. And I can just, like, I always get nervous about supply chain issues, like if they run out of something, but like knowing like worst case scenario, I make it, hop in my car, drive an hour and a half, and it's ready to go out to a customer. Like,
Sure.
That's very, very common.
So are you still even though a lot of the people are handling a lot of the distribution and whatever, you're still hand making these?
We're still hand making
like
them.
It's just the two of you?
And I don't actually. It's
That's
just
all
me.
him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you are hand making every product?
Yeah. And actually,
you made the beard balm in my face right now.
That's right.
You made.
That's right.
That's amazing. I'm wearing Chrism right now.
There we go. Still number one seller. So, and I actually feel really strongly about that. Like, there is a level at which we could probably make more money if we just outsourced everything.
Sure.
Like, even with the percentages that you lose, you have some time back, but the reality is it doesn't take a ton of time. Like, there is a level of dedication and focus, but it's like I can literally put things like on the burners at the right temperature, hop over, like do a little bit of work online, type in stuff, do whatever, hop back over, like mix and pour again. And so there's a nice flow to it, but shipping and customer service are the overwhelming time sucks out of that. Like the making is not another year, except for lip balm. Lip balm literally is,
Lip balm takes a lot.
Yeah.
Have you ever messed up a batch?
Oh, all the time.
All the time.
Oh, what's that like?
And customers will
What
sometimes let us know that they think we messed up a batch also too.
happened?
Sometimes we are, but it's also hard because we use all natural ingredients for the most part, and so if it's a different season. When the frankincense gets harvested, there's a slightly different aroma, and so they'll be like, "This is completely different." You're like, "Well, I mean, it's not. There's there may be a variation, but we work really hard to make sure everything's as consistent as possible. But then sometimes we'll finish a batch and we'll be like, "Oh, this beeswax doesn't smell quite right. We've got to dump it and start over."
The worst is when you think it's turned down and it's not, and then it burns.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
the
no!
worst. And that's the worst for multiple reasons, because it's a batch that's gone, but also because that smells up the whole house.
It's also really funny because people think our house must smell amazing, and we assume that it does because everybody always tells us that when they come over. But we can't smell, we're around it all the time.
Sure, yeah.
So we just got nose blind to it all. If there's a new aroma, we did this thing called Frontline recently, which is was part of our March Madness beards competition that went into June, but whatever. And it was Blessed Daniel Brotier, who's a French saint who's much beloved in Canada, and so we were using galbanum for the first time because it's got this kind of
it's a very strong
sharp
smell.
camphor smell, and the person who inspired it really wanted to have a little bit of a gunpowder tinge to it, and so it doesn't smell like gunpowder, but it has kind of that sharpness of some gunpowder that was shot off recently. Right?
That's wild.
Yeah.
But so all we can smell is that aroma because we're used to the other two things. And so it's really interesting to try to navigate some of those things in the household. But everybody else just comes over and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it smells so amazing in your house all the time."
That's
And
awesome.
I smell garbage.
Yeah, we smell the trash that didn't go out the day before, right?
All right, I have a couple of hard-hitting questions for you too.
Yes.
Oh boy!
First one, do you use your own product?
Oh, I absolutely use my stuff. So Tricia posted a thing a couple of a month or so ago when we were getting ready to move, and it was does Tony have a problem? Does he have too much beard balm? And took a picture of all the tins that were in my thing.
And this is I clear it out on the regular, and it was still.
I basically whenever we have a batch of limited edition something, I'll pull one of those out, and then I'll use whatever's left, that last tin that isn't quite full, I'll grab that sometimes. And so it does tend to build up a little bit as far as the number of tins, but I also have you have customers who will send me Chris Neumann down in Texas, who will send me their entire medicine cabinet filled with beard balm tins that they
Pictures.
through,
They send him pictures of it.
Oh my
And
God.
I was
so-
really confused as to what they were sending him.
Yeah, they're sending me pictures of it. Great.
Yes.
Okay, so which of your flavors or scents is your favorite?
We call them aromas because I saw your confusion.
Okay, yeah.
In it there. Though we do call lip balm flavors. Even
Okay,
though they're
yeah.
Still just
And the lip balm is my favorite.
Don't eat it. I mean,
wanna
you can.
try
It won't
that.
hurt you, but
Sounds
not good for you.
Don't eat it.
Yeah. So the my favorite right now is Restoration, which is one of the oils. But we made a beard balm version of it, and I will probably continue to do that for personal use. But it's cedarwood, patchouli, and clove leaf, and so. But it's actually got a really kind of scotchy quality to it. I'm sorry, it's got a kind of scotchy quality to it that I really like a whole lot. But it's just it's our amber oils. The 3 primary ones are inspired by the 3 sacramental oils that we have in the church. Only one of them actually smells like that oil. That's the chrism one. But the other 2, we have catechumen, which is inspired by the oil of the catechumen, and then restoration, which is inspired by the oil of the infirm, also too.
Awesome.
So that's my jam for the most part. Though right now we just did one called Founders Blend that was part of our.
I saw that on your
move
website.
across the country. Help support us. Blend, which we used, it's Palo Santo, black spruce, rose, and frankincense, which are some of my favorite general aromas.
Okay.
And then we did a hard cologne with that, which is a product we'll have come out.
Okay, I saw that on your website. What is a hard? Is it literally like a bar of soap that you rub on yourself dry?
There's some right over there.
Should go grab it.
But,
Yeah, show us. Show the people.
So solid cologne is not. It's harder than the beard balms are, and it's got a little bit more concentrated aroma to it. So it's in the little tin.
So what do? You dab in and then you just put it on your neck?
So you rub your finger on it. You can go and use that one.
Like that?
Yep.
Oh, smell.
So what? Then I just.
Yep, put some.
Yeah, pulse points, just like you would with normal.
Oh, it smells so good.
It's good, right?
What is this one?
That one's called Founder also too. That's the Palo Santo, rose, black spruce, and frankincense.
I love that.
So,
I love
yeah.
that.
And
That's
so,
very-
anyways, we'll have this. This will be coming out later on this year, and we'll have
I feel like
4
it's
or 5
very gender neutral too.
aromas.
Yeah, it's
Smell.
yeah.
Yeah, like our limited bars are like, which are our solid lotion bars, are like generally targeted towards a female audience, but like every once in a while guys will be like, I wish you just made something like I don't have a beard, and I'm like, well, you could order our lotion bars, and they're like, are those women? I'm like, it's just stuff you put on your skin. Like
Yeah.
your skin and a woman's skin are different, but not especially like, you know.
Right.
So they're not pH balanced for anybody's particular body chemistry.
Can you tell us about the chapstick or what
Oh my
is it
gosh,
called?
the lip balm.
Yeah.
So little flower lip balm. There is mint, citrus, rose, and cinnamon.
Ooh. I'm going for the
Cinnamon. I don't think it ever made it onto the website before.
It's listed on there, but you can't select it. So when
What?
we roll over to our new website, it'll be available.
There's all kinds of little,
All kinds of little
glitches.
weirdsies.
You know,
Like,
you got
we're-
it.
I've never had glitches.
We're running
Never.
we're running 2 or 3 things at the same time historically.
Sure,
So,
yeah.
Like, you know, like there's like little things where we're like, oh, like we all thought it worked because it was on there, but we never actually turned on the ability to select that one thing. Like
You can't just go back and do that?
I mean,
we can
theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically, and so
Sometimes in doing
we
that,
don't do
something
any of
else
the
that
coding.
breaks.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay, I see.
So anyhow, now with the new website, it should be up there. But that one's my favorite, cinnamon. Mint is great. I really like the rose, not for lip balm, but I like to have it to, like, you get a scratch or something, and I'll put it on that or on my cuticles if you have a hangnail or whatever. It's a great.
I've been wanting something for my
boo-boo
cuticles.
stick. Yep,
I'm kidding.
that's true. Actually, one of the things the reasons why we got the solid lotion bars, what started that was the little nuns. I always say little old nuns. I don't think they're little or old, but
some of them,
But they may be.
they may
Some of them
be.
are.
But the little
the Benedictines in Little Rock.
yeah, using the Franciscan balm like on their heels and on their elbows,
Ooh,
and they would order
my
it
heels
for
are
that.
terrible.
So
I'm
we
totally gonna get some of that.
we
All
made
right.
them. We made them the lotion bars for that. You can totally use Franciscan. In a pinch, I use it for tattoo stuff.
What does that mean? Tattoo stuff?
Like
to
healing
put it on
when you're
my
when it's
tattoo.
healing.
Oh, like a new
We were
one or
just
something?
Talking about getting new ones.
Yeah, we are.
For a new
Perfect.
tattoo.
We'll be ordering
We've also
some.
talked about making and it's really funny because you got to navigate all the ins and outs of how Catholics feel about tattoos.
Whatever.
Which,
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So wait, before we get into the tattoo question, I did have one other hard-hitting question.
hard-hitting
Okay,
question.
this has been something that I've been wanting to bring to you guys since I first visited your website years ago to make my first purchase.
All right.
Where the hell is this Barbados stuff coming from? So you look
term
up,
Barbados?
Catholic beard balm.
Barbados.
You find in Google the result that says Catholic beard balm. You click it, and then all you see is Barbados.
Yeah.
Barbados.
Barbados. Why?
Well, that is the brand.
That is the brand.
So
we have-
Catholic Balm Co is the brand, and the line is the Barbados beard balm.
So it's the product line.
Yes.
Okay.
And Barbados. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You got
So
it.
so yeah, like all of our products have a name, right? So like, but it's really funny because no one calls our lip balm Catholic lip balm, or our lotion bars Catholic lotion bars, but everybody calls our Catholic beard balm, which is just, it's whatever. Like it's just what people started calling it, and the only reason.
Oh, so it was never actually called that?
No, it was always called Barbados. Like it was always called Barbados beard balm.
Interesting.
And then, but everybody just referred to it as Catholic beard balm, which the only reason we're called Catholic Balm Co. is because everybody calls our balms like Catholic beard balm.
Well, now you have another competing. When I looked you guys up recently.
Talk about those
sorry,
things. And so
the imitators.
We have a number of imitators. We have 3 or 4. There are a couple people who I will just like free and clear say, and I'm happy to give them a shout out. And that is St. Kilda. It's run by a deacon in like Minnesota, Michigan. It's got to be Minnesota, somewhere in the middle of the U.S. He's a phenomenal guy. His company and our company started. I think actually he started first. I was unaware of it.
Oh wow!
Like it's not specifically Catholic stuff. It's a little bit broader than that, and he's got some other things on there too. I've never tried any of his products. Yeah,
he has sheep.
He's sheep. Yeah, he's a cool guy though. I would highly encourage people to check out their stuff. Zero qualms there. There's also a guy who makes. Ragamuffin Gospel. Who is it? No, Rich Mullins. So there's a St. Rich beard oil that's made by an awesome dude down in Houston that I really love also too.
Okay.
And both of those are completely separate and like came out of their own ethos and are totally whatever.
Let's not go.
No, I'm not going to say names of other people.
We're just not going to go
specifically
here at all.
saying like those are 2 people I love, and there are a lot of other people who
and that's it. We're not. That's all. There are others.
Yeah.
So that does help clarify, though, because I just always assumed that Catholic Beard Balm was your brand, just because of the fact that people refer to it that way. But in fact, it is Barbatus.
Yeah, Barbatus is which is saint. Like so, it's all.
So the etymology of the word barb it refers to beard.
It refers to being a hairy man, but there's also a Saint Barbatus also too, who is a Italian saint who helped drive paganism out of his area as a bishop. And there's also something in that town this day on February 19th, which we always mean to make more of a thing, but we don't, called the Day of Thunder, which literally is a day where they blow a lot of stuff up.
Yes, that's incredible.
It's like a firework, but also like other explosions will go off all day long.
My brother would love
and
that.
It's meant to be part of like the driving of the pagans out. So it's meant to be this big like evangelization celebration. Locally, it's just become like this day where they blow stuff up. But it is like there's a lot of our ethos that's in that. But
well, I can tell you when I wear my chrism oil, I'm ready to drive out pagans by blowing stuff up.
But originally, like it also was just like. I think originally my like working tagline was like it's Latin for beard, right? Like which was just a good like whatever. And because it just Barbatus means hairy. But then I found this like really cool saint, and then everything has become. So we have Saint Little Flower Lip Balm, which is Saint Therese. Lumina is a Philomena reference, so that's Saint Philomena inspires all of those. And like basic aromas, right? And then like Ambry is our only non-saint line, but it's like that's the line of beard oils. It's not Catholic beard oil. It's Ambry beard oil. It's made by Catholic Balm Co. Right, so everything always ends up with its own little thing, but that also lets us do a lot of fun like catechesis and sharing of the faith through different
100%
products. And so like our recent one is the Intercessors line. That's our most recent ad, which is diaper cream, bug balm, and a muscle rub. And so the diaper cream is Raphael's Relief because it was like either going to be Marian or like Holy Innocents, and both of those just seemed like really weird. Like when it's talking about something you rub on a baby's butt, it just seemed like really weird to be like, here's a bunch of innocent children who were killed, or like here's the Blessed Mother. So like we're pretty specific about how we refer to both Christ and the Blessed Mother and everything we do. Pretty much everybody else is open field, but we would never want to kind of step past what is fun and helps share the faith into an area of like really saying like, oh yeah, like somebody once submitted an ad idea to us. It was like, what would Jesus wear? And we were like, absolutely not. Like, I was like, well, why not? I was like, because it's blasphemous. Like, that's basically saying like Jesus endorses our product, and that's not
right.
Like, I don't think he's mad about it, but I don't think it's like a thing where he'd be like, I mean, I would give Jesus some. Like, if I, like, I'm just saying, like, if you, Jesus, call me.
Can we get a product endorsement?
And so, so we went with Saint Raphael, right? Who's a patron saint of healing. And then, like, who didn't have the picture of like Raphael and Michael guarding? Like, you'll have that picture somewhere in your house growing up. You didn't,
no.
But like, oh yeah, there's just like classic picture of like Saint Raphael, like guiding children over a bridge that looks like all rickety and scary.
Thing?
Yeah.
My Protestant family had a picture of that. Oh gosh.
No, they probably just thought it was an angel. They probably didn't know it was.
Yeah, right.
It was definitely just like the angel.
And so we went with Saint Raphael, and then we have Sebastian Sal for Saint Sebastian, who's a patron saint of athletes. Also got shot a whole lot, so probably sore muscles. And so,
That's awesome.
And then we have Gratis Guard, which is the bug balm, who is the patron saint against insects. And each one of those has like a little prayer printed on the back that you can pray.
That's awesome.
Like, while you're putting it on.
Yeah.
Speaking of the prayers, I love the prayer card. I don't think when I got my balm that you guys were doing that, but I saw on your website that you're now giving a prayer card with the beard balm, and it is a really. Did you guys write that? Because it's really cool. When I saw that it was a thing before actually reading it, I was like, "There's no way this isn't going to be cheesy." Right. And I read it, and I was like, I could actually see this being a really great way to start the day.
Yeah.
And I loved that about it. And in fact, to that end, I'm going to use this as a segue to get back to our question about tattoos. So one of the things that I love about wearing the Chrism Barbados Catholic beard balm.
You can call it Catholic beard balm.
No. I'm going to get it right. We're going to put an end to the...
As long as the link in the show notes is right, that's all that matters.
It will be. But anyways, one of the things I love about wearing it, and I know actually a couple other people that wear this. In fact, Dr. John Wood, who is an author and speaker, we do a lot of events with him. He, when he was growing a beard briefly for a while, he was wearing your stuff. And one of the things that he and I commiserated about is the idea that, like, I don't have a big beard. I had a bigger beard at one point, but even though I have the small thing that I do, like, I love putting it on, and I love that the aroma kind of just is constant reminder that, like, there's something more to my existence. Mm-hmm. And in a similar way, that's also one of the things that I love about my tattoo. Is that so? For the viewers, or if you're not watching this, if you're listening, check out the video on the website. You lose. So this tattoo is the Vade Retro Satanas emblem, which is the backside of the Saint Benedict medal, and it's a prayer of exorcism. If you're not unfamiliar with it, you should look it up. It's really powerful. But for me, the significance of having this is a constant reminder that,
You're getting goosebumps.
Hey, just chill out, all right? It's a constant reminder that there is more to this existence than just what we see, and there's spiritual warfare. Like, there is a spiritual reality that we are just constantly engulfed in, and is happening inside of us. And in a similar way, I love that your products kind of offer the opportunity for that as well, where it's just this, a sensory thing that keeps you focused on the right stuff.
Right.
So
Our actual tagline is actually like everyday reminders of our universal call to holiness.
I love that.
Is the actual mission of Catholic Balm Co. is to create that.
I love that.
People. And so,
well, and before we started the episode today, before we started recording, Alina was talking about how she's never going to let me grow a beard. And then Tony, you were like, yeah, but what if his beard smelled like salvation?
Yeah. And so, like, the reality is it's not about length. Like, actually, people are like, well, I don't have a long beard, so I don't need beard balm. It's actually, you're mostly taking care of the skin underneath. And it's, for a short beard, it's actually doing a lot of softening. Like, that's the major function of it also too. And so, like, it does both of those things at any length, but like a longer beard typically is softer and isn't as pokey. And so it's softening it overall and conditioning it, but like at different lengths, the balm's actually doing different things. And so, there are a lot of people who are like, my wife wouldn't let me grow a beard, and then I got your stuff, and then she was like, all right. We're talking about Matt Farad, who I know hang out with on the weekends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he came to our booth and got some of our Heart of the Mountain. And then woke his wife was taking a nap in the room at Focus, and he's like woke up and like, smell my face, and was like sticking his face right. He's like, I put beard balm on. She's like, you don't have a beard. He's like, I know, but I like the smell a whole lot. And so, but in a delightful Australian accent. And so,
yeah.
And so, but yeah, it's interesting, like, just to see like the different ways people will like take and use the product also too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but tattoos.
Yeah. So let's talk about tattoos. So I have a tattoo. Alina and I have been talking about.
I'm gonna get one.
Her getting one and
really
me adding another one.
I'm really bad
you guys have like one or two tattoos.
A little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Just a couple.
Talk to us about like why? Like, what's the significance for you? I shared mine. I'd love to hear it from your perspective.
Well, they're all significant one way or another. My first big one was my shoulder, my arm one, which was my tree, and has a bird for my children. Each of my children, and that was just, I don't know, I just really wanted my tree.
Yeah. All right.
That's the significant
Why not?
one. My most significant one, I think, is
It's not Frida Kahlo, is it?
It is a Frida Kahlo, and that I'll explain.
It's
okay,
Frida Kahlo
please.
as a Day of the Dead.
So
yeah.
I struggle with depression and anxiety, and I can have some really ugly, bad thoughts. And so my kind of mantra, my life verse, especially whenever things get really ugly, is Psalm 118, verse 17. Is that right? Yes. And it's, I shall not die but live, and declare the works of the Lord is the full thing, but I shall not die but live is like the constant thing that I say to myself during those moments. And I just really wanted to have it like on me. So it was like a touchstone then almost. Instead of just
That's great.
internal.
Like a token. Yeah.
Right. So like it was something physical. So I did that, and I wanted to have a Dia de los Muertos skull with that also because I felt I'm Mexican, so that's like some stuff that's important to me too. But also, I felt like it fit in with the sentiment of all that, right? Like, and so, and I'm a big fan of Frida Kahlo, and so
like specifically her art or her person.
Both.
Okay.
She was obviously a very. She had her demons.
Yep.
Right? She was not this perfect being, but she led an extremely hard life and persevered through so much and so many traumas. And so for me, that is an inspiration, taking bad things and turning it into beauty. Awesome. I love that. So I showed my tattoo artist. I said I wanted it kind of the skull to be in that vein. Just I wanted her to have braids and like all the flower crowns and all of that. And this is what he drew. He
didn't know who Frida was either.
Yeah, he didn't know who she was, and he told me, "Okay, I'll get back to you in a couple days." And this was at like 6 p.m. I just walked into the shop. He just happened to be the person I talked to, and I sent him a couple links and he read up on her and was like, dude, she's a badass.
Yeah.
I guess.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Okay, good.
Yep. We're drinking whiskey.
Wait a second.
I mean, we're chill.
I should have
it's real talk.
Sure before that.
No.
And so by 10 o'clock, he'd sent me his drawing and was like, I'm ready to do it. So
that's awesome.
So it turned out to be her, which is, I still love it so much.
That's beautiful. Favorite. Do you know if he based it on the Frida Kahlo or did he base it on Selma Hayek's interpretation of Frida?
No, it was my favorite self-portrait of hers.
Okay.
So I sent him a link of that.
That's awesome.
Of my favorite, I sent him a bunch of the images, but specifically my most favorite portrait, which is where she's on the, she has a green background with flowers.
Okay.
Like it looks like wallpaper. Yeah. Love it.
Have you seen the movie Coco yet?
Yes.
It makes me cry every time. It's such a good movie.
My son, our 12-year-old is the most tender-hearted little boy. Aww. Love him so much.
Is that Olin?
That's Olin. And he was like, we watched it at the church for some
babysitting event.
Some babysitting event, and we watched it, and I just remember the movie ended, and he was just sitting there quietly still, and he's like 10, and 11 at the time.
He's our like, we're already kind of aware usually that he'll cry at certain movies. Aww. Like that's his.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
But he just was sitting there quietly, and everybody else had gotten up and went, and he's still like 11, like still sitting there, and I go over, I was like, "Are you okay?" And he just started bawling, put his head down, and he loved it. We love it.
That's great. It's a really powerful movie.
It really is
every time. Even just thinking about it, I'm like, suck
Suck it in.
That's true.
That's awesome.
So that's my big one. I have my Immaculate Heart of Mary, which is my other favorite. Mm-hmm. We just got new ones. So when we left Texas, we both got a tattoo before we left. So I have a star on my foot, which is my Lone Star State. And these trees are my Evergreen State tattoo. I kind of feel like they're more like my charm bracelet.
Yeah, that's
instead of getting charms, I get tattoos.
So to that end, let me ask this question, and Tony, I'd love to hear more about your tattoos too. But so I had a friend of mine ask me after I got mine. He's like, "So I understand why you like that symbol or that design, that emblem, but like, why not just get it on a T-shirt?" Well, how would you answer that question? I know how I answered it, but I'm curious, what would you say?
For me, it's like specifically with this one, it is a touchstone and it's always there with me. And I don't know, there's something different about having it on your person.
I agree.
I totally agree.
My answer, why not both?
I agree. Well, to me, the implication that because something else that someone said, because I made a reference to the fact that I like that I would, this symbol, the Vade Retro Satanas side of the St. Benedict medal, it's something that is put as a part of the crucifix, and priests will use that as a part of the exorcism rite, and it's just commonly understood to be something that's very powerful and has spiritual weight. Mm-hmm. And I wanted that to be a part of who I am. And so a friend of mine might, I think at some point said something like, well, how about just the way you live your life? And I'm like, well, are you a heretic? Like, are you saying that my body is separate from who I am?
Right.
And to me,
oh, snap.
To me, the idea is that, well, yes, I agree the way I live my life, but that's not separate from my body either.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we are not.
Well, and like, so the often bandied about verse of like, do not get tattoos in the Old Testament, right? The completion of that verse is like, as the pagans do, right? Which
correct.
The classical base pagans would get tattoos were twofold for foreign gods, right? For their gods, or for the dead, right? So it was basically tying yourself to something that was dead. And here's the thing. If we actually didn't believe, the Jews didn't believe, and if we didn't believe that our bodies were important, there's no reason to have like that verse in scripture. Like if our bodies are unimportant, and if there's not a significance to that, like it doesn't.
It's fine.
if our bodies aren't important, then that verse doesn't make any sense. Like we actually can understand pretty specifically that there is an intention to the way that we use our bodies and live our bodies, and that there is a significance. So I do think it's something that people should like have a grave understanding of. Like when people are like, "Oh, I just got this peanut tattoo because I liked it." I'm like, I mean, cool. I'm glad you like peanuts, like,
or Mickey Mouse or something.
Yeah, like which is whatever. I'm not actually judging anybody else's tattoos, but for me, everything.
I mean, not those specifically, but a couple of like.
Come on, okay, you have Minnie Mouse somewhere, don't you?
I have my bird.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Like, but I'm just saying, like, if there's no like deeper understanding, then there is kind of like you are actually tying yourself to something if you're getting a representation of something on your flesh, right? Permanently. Totally. And so all of my tattoos are really just tattoos in some capacity. We have our wedding rings tattooed on.
Oh, wow.
What is that? Like a Hebrew symbol?
It's a Hebrew letter tau, which is an X, which is it means sign, seal, or cross. It's also the number 400. And so like so songs would be like a sign upon your wrist and a seal within your heart, right?
Okay.
Oh, that one makes me cry too.
And then Ezekiel sees himself in this dream at one point walking through the city of the New Jerusalem, marking the sign of the tau on people's foreheads, right? And so he's looking around, New Jerusalem being heaven, right, or the kingdom to come, and the significance of the cross in the middle of that. That in the middle of this new Zion, this new Jerusalem, that the cross is an important symbol that actually marks people in some way, shape, or form, which for us as Catholics is a good prefigurement of the seal of the sacraments, right? But also specifically of the cross of Jesus Christ. And so like there's a lot of good scriptural reasons for that. And so just understanding our wedding as a sacramental seal and as a sign of like God's love in our life. That's something we chose to do on our 4th anniversary. Also, she can't get rid of me now. And so like I'm slowly getting different representative elements of the armor of God tattooed in the different places on my body.
Nice.
So I have tattoos on top of my feet. I have this, my favorite tattoo is my chest, which is by far the most extensive of all my tattoos. I have an entire like chest piece. I'll just show people on the camera real quick. So if you're not watching, you get it for you. But it's the brain not working. It's faith, hope, and love. So there's a different symbol, but they're all Sailor Jerry style. So there's a sacred heart for love, and then there's a anchor for hope and a sparrow for faith. And nice. So all that in classic Sailor Jerry style. And the guy Dylan, the same guy who did a lot of her work, did this.
He's amazing. If you're in Seattle, Dylan at Good Karma Tattoos.
Yep.
Nice.
And then I have one misspelled tattoo on my foot we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Because the trace wore off and he was just going fast. And so my feet are shop in readiness for the gospel of feet. A piece on one side.
Wait, shop? Like going shopping? Like buying things?
Let's go shopping for the right shoes for the gospel piece.
This seriously has to be like the best thing I've ever heard.
That's great. And like, it was like, you could get it touched up. I'm like, well, kind of, but not really. And also it's just a good life lesson. Like, it's okay to be like, yeah, this is a mistake. Like this guy made, it's whatever. Like, I'm going to live with it now.
And next time you're going to be like, take your freaking time.
Yeah. Like, even when I was so I have one on my neck now also too, because nothing says professional lay minister like a neck tattoo.
You got to be of the people.
So, yeah, it's behind my ear. And so
when Pope Francis said you got to smell like the sheet, like he might get tattoos.
That's right. Yeah. And so
absolutely.
So one feet is shop in readiness for the gospel of peace. The other one is live justly, love purely, and walk humbly with God, which is a verse out of Micah. I have my chest piece, and then I got the helmet of salvation, which is a crown with the word salvare underneath, which is the present active sense of to save. So my friend Father Casey, who's also big into tattoos, who's one of the people I messaged, he has the same tattoo as you do, or the same symbol tattooed as you do.
Where does he have his?
His is on the upper inside of his arm. It's full color. Okay. I guess it's probably this arm actually. So he's one of my tattoo buddies. He has a couple other white tattoos, like the ones you can't see I'll throw him a black light also too. So I sent him this, and I was wondering how long it would take somebody to be like, what does that word mean? Or why did you use this version of to save? And I was thinking it'd take a couple of weeks at least. And he was one of the first people I sent it to. He's like, why did you use the infinitive? And why did you use that version of it? And I was like, you would. Like, you would, Father Casey. So yeah, like all of ours have, and I have one on my back. I have one on my upper arm that was my first crappy tattoo. It's a Sacred Heart, and so not a good one.
You mean not a good
version of
it? Yeah.
Yeah, it'll eventually get covered up. I want to get representative portions of the 4 Gospels on one arm as a sleeve.
Nice.
Ooh, cool.
And representative portions of the Catechism of the Catholic Church on the other arm as a sleeve. My wife hates me.
I love that. So one of our good friends, Joseph Gessie, he has a really beautiful piece that is on his upper torso on the front. And on both chests, he has 2 of the 4 Gospels, and then beneath that, the other 2. And it's just this really, and it's gorgeous. And it really is a powerful representation of the 4 symbols for the Gospels.
Yeah. And so
my favorite story is our friend Father Colin, who
my gosh,
he talks about it. You have to just plug the threshold. People can go.
So my co-host on the Threshold podcast, which has been on hiatus for the last
plug it. Tell us about it.
Yeah, thresholdpodcast.fm. It's an interfaith dialogue show from a consistently Catholic hermeneutic. So I interview different people about their faith journey, and it's people from all different backgrounds. About 50% Catholics and Christians, and about 50% others. So atheists, Wiccans, like people who are
that's awesome.
Eastern faith, people who would not consider themselves in any way, shape, or form religious, or have different types of pagan tendencies.
I have pagan tendencies.
Oh my gosh!
So
we just lost half our patrons. Thanks, babe.
Joking.
So anyways, he's my co-host. So before and afterwards, we'll do a little banter, and then we'll talk about my interview with that person and kind of just name the good, true, and beautiful things that resonated with us. It's just been a really beautiful exploration that's created a lot of solid community. Like I keep on waiting for some sort of group of people to discover it and really hate me because of it, and nobody has yet. It's
because you're open to have those conversations.
It's kind of disappointing. Well, because I don't condemn them to hell. Like other people say bad theology because they believe different things, and that's fine. That's the point of it. And the point is also to understand how transcendent God is in people's experience, and also to understand what as humans connects us all, and that you can have dialogues about faith without them being angry and controversial or gotchas. I actually have to kind of de-escalate people and be originally, I had my whatever lead-up explanation, but one of the things that in the second season I really had to add in was nothing's a trap. No question I ask you is meant to get you. If you don't like it, rephrase it. If you don't want to answer it, say I don't want to answer that. I don't care. And so
that makes me think of. Have you heard of Milo Yiannopoulos?
Yeah.
So a couple of.
I would love to get Milo on the show.
I know. Yeah, you absolutely should. If you're listening or watching, and you don't know who Milo is. Milo Yiannopoulos is a Catholic man. Who is a political commentator and pundit, and he's an author and speaker, and he, while being fervently and passionately Catholic and Christian, is also actively living a homosexual lifestyle. And
he's also Jewish. But culturally.
It's
culturally Jewish.
Yeah, right.
Just as an FYI.
But what's amazing is while he actively lives that lifestyle, he'll still stand up in front of people and he'll say the Catholic Church is right about everything. And he'll literally call his talk that. And then he'll defend it. He'll defend that statement, and he'll defend it remarkably well. And anyways, when he recently, he got interviewed on 2 different big Catholic shows. One is the podcast that Patrick Coffin started, and then another one was an interview with Michael Voris from Church Militant. And by the way, I am generally not a fan of the Church Militant. I'm pretty adamant about the fact that part of our faith is charity and love, and I just feel like that whole apostolate, if you can call it that, is void of charity and love. Anyways, yeah, thank you. Alina just told me to be careful in Spanish. So anyways, my point is, though, that interview with Milo Yiannopoulos was probably the first time I've ever seen Michael Voris do something that I was actually respecting. I had admiration for the way Michael Voris did that interview. Yeah. But my point in bringing this up was that kind of along the lines of what you're talking about, some of the people, Michael Voris and Patrick Coffin both, by the end of their interviews, they both kind of pushed back on Milo and said hey, so if you have this incredible wealth of understanding of Catholic doctrine and theology and anthropology, what if you changed your ways and repented. But he's done other interviews with other Catholics as well, and they did not go there with it. And the people that would listen to those interviews would get really upset with the interviewers. Like, why didn't you tell him to repent? Why didn't you tell him to turn back on his ways? It's like, you think he doesn't know? Like, you think he hasn't heard that before?
Yeah, it's this whole zeitgeist, right?
Yeah, right.
Zeitgeist is I'm living in opposition to the thing I believe.
Right.
Which Milo, for being a provocateur, right? Like, he's somebody who loves to get a rise out of people. He is really self-aware.
Yeah.
And he knows that about himself. And he knows that's his way of being. He knows that's his way of behaving. Like, our belief that we need to tell people they're wrong as an inroads into salvation is really weird, because most people actually have a decent understanding of where they stand in regards to church teaching. Now, they may have a lack of understanding as why the church teaches a thing. I don't think Milo falls into that category. And so the reality is, like, people know.
Yeah.
And so trying to tell them, like, hey,
it's really more for you than for them.
And it's for your own sense of self-righteousness, which is not about what the church thinks is righteous. It's what you think is righteous, right? And so even if you agree with the church. And so, like, I don't need to spend any time telling anybody they're right or wrong. And so I just want to spend an hour falling in love with somebody who comes from a different place of existence than I do, because I think that's the closest we can actually get to understanding how Christ lives, but also lived when he was incarnate on earth specifically, right? Like,
Amen.
These people who are fallen, who are sinful, who are broken, who he just loves and yearns for their heart. Like, the only way he could do that was by becoming one of us, right? And so, like, to say, like, I want to spend a little bit of time. Actually, I was for some of the work we're getting ready to do, was looking at some of the different Latin, the Hebrew root words, and then some of the Greek translations of them, or Jesus' conversation with the guy about what the greatest commandment is.
Yes.
And there's a word, I'm going to get it wrong.
We'll forgive you.
I'm going to get it wrong. It starts with a K, and it's like kamada or kamacha, one of the two. But it means what you are, right? Like, so it means, so one of the interpretations is not to love your neighbor as yourself, but to love the other as what you are, right? So
interesting.
Which, like, has a couple of different ways you could unpack that, but I think from the broadest perspective, I think the spectrum that the church would propose in its translations later on would be to love the other as if they were the same as you, right? Like, to love the other as if they were the same as you. And that's rooted in the fact that we're made in the image and likeness of God. And that's where that comes from. Because the other interpretation that would naturally fall into that, if we don't take that interpretation, if we don't take the broadest one, is just to love your fellow Jew, which Jesus is obviously not
That's
saying.
obviously not.
So that scripture verse either means love the other as if they were what you are, and inferring that because of that, because they are what you are, like they are human and they were made in the likeness of God, right? Or the other interpretation you can take of that verse is love your fellow Jew. Right. And so
that's
one of
obviously
those
not
makes
it.
sense and one of those doesn't.
Well, what else is powerful about that to me is the idea of not just that we were made in the image and likeness of God, so is that person, but the mercy space that they deserve if they're like you.
Right.
Like, I need to be very aware that I am not perfect, and I will make mistakes, and I have made mistakes, and I do make mistakes, and this person is just as messed up and broken and human as I am.
Right.
And so, just like they are, they are made in the image and likeness of God, so they have a dignity because of that, but they also deserve mercy the way that I hope to have mercy poured upon me.
Yeah.
And I think that's just as big, but that's such a profound insight. I love that.
And I think the best, like, the thing that we oftentimes miss when we go through the story of the Good Samaritan is, like, the person we are, like, we always want to put ourselves in the role of, like, I would be like the Samaritan, or like the person is, like, sometimes we're like, oh, like, sometimes I am the Levite or the whatever. And, like, the primary person we're supposed to put ourselves in the role of in that story is the dead person in the ditch. Like, that's the person we're supposed to understand ourselves as.
Yeah.
Not as, like, I could be the righteous hero in this story. You could be, and you should try for that. But you should also understand, like, in this story, you're actually the guy dying in the ditch.
Right.
Like,
or if we're really honest with ourselves, sometimes we're the guy that walks by and doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think about Dr. Jordan Peterson, well, a lot of the stuff that he talks about is the idea of being painfully aware of just how low you can go, painfully aware of just how evil you can be. You know, and he talks about studying the Holocaust and putting yourselves in the shoes of the Nazi soldiers and realizing what you're actually capable of. Like not assuming, oh no, I would never do that, but really put yourself in their shoes. Put yourself in their shoes, you know, in line beneath their supervisors, beneath their, you know, the hierarchy of the Nazi army. Like, what would you actually do in that position if you're really honest with yourself? And I think about that story with the Samaritan, the Good Samaritan, and it's like, man, how easy would it be for me to walk by a homeless person or someone that's in need? And I remember I've talked about this before. I'm not sure if it was on this podcast, but I have a good friend, Peter Range, and I'll usually think WWJD, what would Jesus do? But sometimes I think WWPD, what would Peter do? Because this guy, this friend of ours, he will literally take into his car, into his home, a homeless person that he meets, or just, I mean, it's amazing what this guy will do. And I literally sometimes am convicted by knowing how he would handle a situation. Right. And I think, like, okay, one time I was driving home from work for a lunch break, because I lived close enough to the church, and I saw these young people walking, and they looked like they were not in a great place. And I literally pulled up next to them. I was like, hey, can I give you guys a ride somewhere? And like, that is
could have gotten killed.
So uncharacteristic of me. And that's the one time in my life that I've really done that. And I'm so convicted by the topic of what we're talking about right now. The fact that I wouldn't, like, that's not in my nature. Like, I had to really step outside myself and really call to mind this guy, Peter, to try to bring that out of myself.
Yeah.
When we started talking about all that, because we were talking about Father Colin, and that's like, I've always joked, like, his parish will have to get him like chipped like a dog, because he's the kind of person who would be like, not only would he pick up hitchhikers, he'd also be like, I need to get somewhere and my car's broken, I'll just hitchhike. Like, he is just somebody who's very comfortable with his humanity and with humanity in general. And
see,
just
as
like,
a woman,
and absolutely, yeah, like it's totally
different.
The privilege of being a white dude, right? Yeah. Like anyways, so he's totally that kind of person. But his best tattoo story is he has what?
Nothing.
Oh, you don't want me to tell it?
I don't know. It's not ours to tell.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to tell it anyway. Because I won't tell the whole thing. He'll use it in homilies every once in a while.
At least on the threshold, he like says it himself.
I don't know, does he ever share the story?
I'm pretty sure.
Well, if you want to hear it from the horse's mouth, check out The Threshold. But for now,
so he has a tattoo of 3 gravestones on his arm. With like a background. It's not a great tattoo. It's a good tattoo. It's not a great tattoo. And it's like his name and the name of 2 of his like friends from high school. And in his mind, like, it's like, hey, we're all going to get tattoos of gravestones on our arms with our names on them.
Because his best friends.
Yeah, because we're best friends and we're going to be friends till we die. So we're all 3 going to get like those tattoos together. And so he went and got the tattoo done. And they didn't, because he never talked to them about this. He just assumed that's what would happen when he went to get this tattoo. So he has this tattoo that's got him and these 2 other guys' names on them. And he like showed them and they're all like, awesome.
Oh, no.
That's so good on you.
Yeah.
And so, it's very him. Like, it's
right,
a very him story. And
this was also pre-conversion, pre-anything.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, he was in the Navy for a number of years. Like, he's an awesome dude. And so,
Father Colin.
Like, that's one of the hardest parts about moving away from Seattle. Was moving away from him.
Sure.
And so like, twice this week he's had to call us and like process through stuff, which normally he'd just like come over and like have beers and
sit and drink a whiskey.
Yeah. And so he anyways, we miss him. He misses us. He's gonna come to Philly and visit all the time.
Yep.
Well, that's great.
And so that's like getting the podcast back on track, because like we stopped when we knew we were starting to look at moving and he was gonna be assigned somewhere else. And then so like now this is like our dedicated, hey, once a week time to sit down and chit chat with each other and catch up also too.
Yeah.
And so
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's actually the only reason we do this podcast, is to give us an opportunity to talk to each other.
That's a lie.
That's beautiful. All right. Well, you guys, we've covered some serious ground here.
true.
We're
going to have a lot of micro content to make out of this.
I'm so sorry. Tony likes to talk.
It's true.
It's beautiful.
Let me say one more thing. So
Please
you referred
do.
to us as a Catholic power couple at the very beginning.
God.
Somebody else who we love emailed us a little while ago to say, hey, I'm trying to get some Catholic rock star couples and parents to like create some content with me, and like,
So
could you just
uncomfortable
answer
with
these
this.
3 questions? And I showed it to Tricia, and like she was already very uncomfortable and was like, does she even know who she's talking to about? And it was like, tell us about how you pray together. And it was like, oh yeah, like we're bad at that. Like, tell us about date night. And you're like, oh yeah, we should do those.
Sometimes we should.
I don't remember what the third question was. It probably had to be with like parenting or children or something like that. Like, what's the way you're passing on your faith to your kids? We probably could have come up with a passable answer for that one, but yeah, like
generally.
Like
we suck.
It's really funny. Yeah, like, and that's like, because she said she wanted to come up with a list of tips, and I just wanted to respond with like, I will answer this, but only if you print things verbatim the way that I said. I promise there won't be any cussing or anything theologically inaccurate. Because I would have just been very honest, and my tip would have been like, no one else is doing as well as you think they are.
Right.
Like,
yes.
No one you're looking at who you think like those people are super holy. Or they've got it all worked out.
I mean, I'm really holy, but with her around.
Yeah, I'm a pagan, so remember that.
So like we've been like doing the daily readings like on our trip across Torre, listening to them and doing a short prayer afterwards. Like because we're trying to be better about that. And because our kids are a little bit older now.
Also, the kids
like,
are behind us and they're probably on their phones.
No, we make them put everything down. And actually, for the most part, they're pretty good.
But I'm just saying.
But like it is like part of this move is also reorienting ourselves around some of that. But also, we don't want to inoculate our kids against the faith by shoving down their throat too much. We want to give them a real experience. Like this is your mom and dad. Who's who we really are as people.
Totally.
And we're like struggling and working out our salvation, and the faith is a huge part of who we are.
Yes.
And like for the first two, at least, that's working out pretty well. Like I always ask my kids whenever they're struggling with anything, like the church teaches, right? Because some of them they like believe things that are not the same as the church teaches, right? And that's hard as a parent. But like my ultimate thing is like, okay, do you believe in Jesus? Yes or no? Like, do you believe that Jesus is like, your Lord and Savior? Do you believe in the Trinity? Like, do you believe in in the Catholic Church and that the Eucharist is the body, blood, and soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ? Because if you believe those things, we can disagree about anything else. Like, I'm totally fine going on that journey with you, or you being in a different place about that. But if we have those fundamentals in place, like I'm okay as a parent, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, you're gonna go through your searching and your question asking phase, and so like for older two. Like we're tracking through those conversations down. It's a whatever, and so
they're freshmen and sophomores.
They're freshmen and sophomores in high school, and then we have a 7th grader and a 6th grader, and so like we're in those prime times.
You are in the throes.
Oh my gosh!
And so like I was a youth minister, but like I don't want to be my kid's youth minister. I want to be the parent.
Well, and you really can't be. Like it's a very different dynamic.
For sure.
Right, and so even as we're looking at Philly, and it's like there's not a lot of youth ministry at the parishes we're looking at.
Really?
Or any.
So
great to have an office.
Right, that's why I'm surprised.
Suburbs, you got stuff. In the city, parishes are 200 to 300 families. Right?
That is shocking to me.
And so,
oh my gosh.
well, it's totally post-Christian, massive decline.
Wow.
That's one of the reasons we're going there. Because Seattle's like Christianity never really arrived, and there's some great renewal that's about to happen in Seattle for sure. And Philly's like, no, you're on the other side. Like everything's coming down, and like, let's go and be there, like in the center of Babylon, like trying to reach out and reconnect people with Christ. So, anyways. But even within that, it's like, I don't want to be my kid's youth minister, but I want my kids to have good youth ministry. And we had good youth ministry where we were. And that's like one of the hardest parts about leaving. Like when we were leaving and their number one question was, are we going to find a parish as good as St. Luke's? And we had to look at them and be like, no.
Yeah.
But St. Luke's wasn't as good as St. Luke's is like now, as it hasn't always been that good. It hasn't always been the amazing parish it is. Like that gets built by people. And so like that's a big part of it.
It is amazing what one or two people or a household, a family can make an incredible difference and an impact on an entire community.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah, we're excited.
We are excited.
So that's our tip. No one's doing as good as you think they are.
That's an important tip. It's so easy to idealize, like, you see families from a distance and you're like, man, I wish we were like them or like whatever. Nobody has it better than you. Everyone's on a completely different journey and everyone is just
different.
Yeah.
Like John Paul II went to confession almost daily. Like,
yeah.
And like he was the Pope. And I'm trying to think unless he was sneaking out in the middle of the night and stabbing hobos. Like,
is that the worst thing he could have done though?
I'm just trying to think of what he could have gotten away with, right?
Oh my God.
But I imagine his version of going to confession and the sins that he was carrying probably looked very different than the sins that I go to confession once a month and offer up, right? Like so.
But we do have a real problem. And actually, in a recent podcast episode, Matt Fradd addressed this. I think it was with Peter Kreeft or one of his other recent guests. But like he was talking about the fact that like there's a real danger in our modern Christian culture of idealizing and like putting on pedestals these like Catholic Christian celebrities and thinking to yourself like, oh, they must have this. Like, I think he was talking about Dr. Scott Hahn and assuming that his family life was incredibly holy and beautiful and stuff. And it's like, Dr. Scott Hahn and Kimberly Hahn, like they have, the same challenges every other family has. And, if we stop idealizing, we realize, no. Actually, everyone really does suck, and everyone really is trying their best, and everyone really can try more. Because it's a humility thing, but it's also like if you stop comparing yourself to other people, you give yourself a much better chance.
You also give them freedom.
Yes.
Like, I mean, think about how much you bind other people up by your expectations of them.
Yes.
Especially celebrities. Like I'm good friends with Mark Shea, who is much beloved by some and much not beloved by others. And so
give us a little bit of background on Mark.
So Mark is a theologian, and Mark has Mark's very passionate. Mark's very orthodox, but Mark also has a lot of real problems with the political state of the U.S. right now.
Well, first, back further, he's a convert. He wrote a couple books.
A number of good books. Like Making Sense of Scripture would be the number one I would recommend checking out.
Trying to remember the name of the one that I read.
Yeah, but he's a prominent Catholic author speaker. Like
Scott Hahn and him are same level, kind of.
No, Scott Hahn's totally at a different level than everybody else. He gets brought into he got brought into debate Michael Voris at one point in time on some issues, but by a bunch of Michael Voris's friends so that they could beat up on him.
Sure.
It's fine. So he's viewed as somewhat of a liberal politically.
He's very outspoken
interesting.
online.
Because he's against gun control. Right?
No, he's not against. He's for gun control.
He's for gun control, sorry.
That would be the liberal stance. Yeah.
Yes.
He's for gun control. He also is, he's very outspoken against the political side of the pro-life movement.
Interesting.
Like, this is a guy I've walked in pro-life marches with, and is very passionately pro-life.
So from pro-life people, he is put down for his politicized pro-life?
No, because he thinks that the political...
He calls them Christianists and people who use the unborn as human shields against other things. Because he's saying pro-life consistently.
He's a seamless garment aesthetic, right?
Right.
Like you can't be pro-life in one area, but not in another.
Right. And so people, it's always, and it's... Maybe I shouldn't say this. This is how we feel.
Hey, that's why you're on the show.
I know. I was just thinking about we already get enough gruff too, but people. He's very, very outspoken, and he's not one to be cowed down by things, and people can be very, very cruel.
Yeah.
And he can be very cruel online also too.
Yeah.
He's written articles about publicly and apologized for. It's like so. But anyways, we were just kind of chit chatting, and it's hard. Like people put you on a pedestal, and then when their expectations are violated, like they put that back on you.
Yeah.
Right? So like they say, oh, you're not who I thought you were, or you didn't say everything in alignment with what I think. Therefore, all of a sudden now
you are anathema.
You're anathema, and I hate you, and I want you to be destroyed.
Yeah.
And we see that a lot. You see that a lot with Catholic celebrity. Yeah. There's this weird pressure, and people get bound up by that. And so like, just understanding like the person on the other end of that screen or that email or that phone call or that conversation is also a human being, like, and that especially if they're a Catholic, you owe them something. Walker Percy's an author, and he had a interview that he wrote himself called "Questions They Never Asked Me," but it's also where the term says it because he asks himself, like, what kind of Catholic are you anyways? Because you talk about all these things, and he's like the bad kind, right? Like the bad kind of Catholic, and it's where the term bad Catholic, which was a prominent blog years ago, came from. Because the reality is we're all in that place of trying to figure out how to be better, good Catholics. And
actually, before this podcast, this show was called Conversations with Nick and Alina. One of the names that we considered using was irreverent orthodoxy.
Right.
And it's this idea that to be a real Catholic, it's not a cookie cutter thing. Your heart, it's really the heart posture is the biggest thing in any of this, right? Someone could look at any of the three of us, you would look like a super holy person and see that we have tattoos and be like, oh, they don't really love Jesus. It's please, where in the freaking gospel does Jesus say, if you have a tattoo, I don't love you? No, he doesn't say that to anybody.
Doesn't the verse say not to get your ears pierced too in the New Testament?
What?
And wear jewelry.
For women not to adorn themselves.
Something about hair and all this crap.
Yeah.
But Paul has issues.
Yeah, that thorn. Yeah.
Only because Paul tells us numerous times he has issues. Is that an okay?
Yeah.
So whatever, we're all.
Wait, where was I going with that?
I don't know.
Anyways, I think that we have, and actually, I was listening to a podcast recently. Candidly Catholic. She was talking about this polarization that has spilled into Catholicism, which is really not a new thing. It's really just exaggerated now. Now that we have such a strong polarization politically, it's like becoming, it's mirroring itself in Catholicism. And it's like, if you see someone say something that's slightly less than conservative or whatever, it's like, here's the really hard truth to swallow for a lot of people. Jesus would not consider himself, if he was walking around in human form, he would not consider himself to be an American Democrat, and he also wouldn't consider himself to be an American Republican. And that's why I don't do that either.
Right.
I consider myself to be Catholic.
Long live the Queen.
I consider myself to be Catholic, and I'm a one-issue voter until abortion is illegal.
Right.
It's that simple for me. But the reality is, like, you know, it's so easy to look at other people and have this idealized or like a specific framework through which you think, okay, this is what it looks like to be a Christian or a Catholic. And if you don't fit in that paradigm, then you're not a real Christian or you're not a real Catholic. Yeah. No, life is very complex. People are very complex, and it's not that simple.
And that's kind of what's beautiful about our faith is it's so diverse. If
the source of the way that you're seeing something, if the place you're coming from is not love, then immediately you know it's not from Jesus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And on that note, Tony, Tricia, Vasinda, the definitive power couple of the United States Catholic community.
Wow, oh man, people are going to be so disappointed.
Gosh, we
one neighborhood in Philadelphia.
Please, if you are listening or watching to the show right now, I want to invite you to pray for the Vasindas and their ministry, the work that they're going to be doing in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia. Is that where you said?
Philadelphia, yep.
In Philadelphia. Yeah, Godspeed, guys. Like, I know that that's going to be an interesting, I mean, you know it's going to be a journey, but like, once you're there, you're going to really know that it's going to be a journey. And God is going to be with you, as he is with all of us. And yeah, thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for being here on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for developing the luscious aromas for my face and beard. And for ministering to, caring for youth ministers around the country. Yeah, so if you are a youth minister who is like, what the frick do I do with this ministry? Visit
ProjectWham.com or ThriversWanted.com.
Thriver, I didn't know about that one.
That's the major way we do it online.
Oh my, I got to check that out.
Yeah.
Okay, links will be in the description. And then if you have any modicum of facial hair. Modicum.
Oh gosh, another
correct,
new
probably.
word.
Skin. What do we say if you have skin and lips?
Yes, or if you have skin and lips.
That's true. If you have skin and
Modicum.
lips, check out.
Or lips.
Or if you have skin or lips, I guess. I don't know. There are some people out there. Who knows? What is it?
Catholic Balm Co.
Even though the product line of beard balm is Barbados or Barbados, it's Catholic Balm
.co.
It'll
If
be
you
in
get
the
a .com, it goes to the same place.
Okay, yeah. Links in the description for all of this stuff. Make sure to check them out on social media and follow the work that they're doing. Above all else, pray for them, pray for us. And if in any way today's show has edified your life, and you would like to be part of the reason that this show is possible, and or the music that we make, or the daily word reflections that we do, feel free to visit nickandalina.com/patron. Link in the description as well, the show notes.
Share it.
Share it with others. Yeah. So I think we're 10. This is going to be the 10th episode of the show, I think. 9 or 10th. We're just trying to get this off the ground. So if you want to share this with anyone who you think would enjoy these conversations, these topics, these questions, feel free to share it on your social media platform of choice. And until next time, God bless.
And tag Edmund Mitchell in any post.